I, 42 male, found out my wife, 39 female, was screwing two guys when one of their wives showed up at my house, going absolutely ballistic. 9 years down the drain. 9 fucking years. My wife managed a high-end furniture showroom, and I owned a small landscaping business, which meant I was away most days from dawn until dinner. So, yeah, she had plenty of time to do whatever she wanted. Actually, wait, I did see stuff, but I'm an idiot who explained it all away. She started having these late meetings maybe 3 months ago. Nothing crazy at first, just getting home at like 9 instead of 6. Then 9 became 10. Then 10 became midnight, and she'd text me not to wait up. She started doing these cooking classes twice a week, which was whatever. She couldn't cook for shit, so that made sense. But these classes somehow went from 6 to 11 p.m., and what cooking class runs that late? Her phone was suddenly password protected. Not just the lock screen, but individual apps as well. All the reasons she gave were complete bullshit. She used to leave her phone anywhere, on the kitchen counter, the bathroom sink. It didn't matter. Now it was practically glued to her hand and always face down. Always. Oh, and the garage calls. Jesus Christ, the garage calls. We live in Ohio. It was February, freezing cold, and she's taking calls in the garage. Said the house was too noisy, even though I was usually dead asleep by 9 p.m. because I had to be up at 5 a.m. for work. 2 months ago, her showroom apparently started doing weekend inventory sessions every single Saturday, noon to 8 p.m. She said they were reorganizing the entire warehouse and showroom floor, and everyone had to be there. She said she would get overtime for it, but it didn't show on her paycheck. I actually asked about that, and she got defensive, saying I was tracking her schedule like her dad used to do. That shut me up real quick because her dad was controlling as hell, and I never wanted to be that guy. Then I noticed cash withdrawals from our joint account. I mean, large amounts that couldn't be explained away. When I asked what she needed all that cash for, she said she was paying her sister back for some old loan I didn't even know about. Her sister lives in California, and we see her maybe once a year. So how was she paying her back in cash? Made no fucking sense, but she got so angry when I questioned it. Said I was being controlling about money, which was rich considering she made almost the same as me, and I never said shit about her purchases. We had this massive fight, and she slept in the guest room for a week. Then, 2 weeks before everything went to hell, she became super affectionate out of nowhere, making my favorite foods, suggesting date nights, and actually having sex again after barely touching me for months. I thought we were getting back on track. I'm such a fucking moron. So, the following Monday, I got home early because we finished a big commercial job ahead of schedule. Showered, grabbed a beer, and was sitting on the couch by 2 p.m., which never happens. Around 2:30, someone starts banging on my door like they're trying to break it down. I open it, and there's this woman I've never seen before holding this manila folder, and she's been crying, but also looks ready to murder someone. She goes, "Where is she?" And I'm like, "Who? What?" Then she starts pulling papers out of this folder. Photos of my wife and this woman's husband at restaurants, kissing in his car, going into an apartment building together. Time-stamped photos showing them meeting up when my wife said she was at cooking class or inventory. This woman's husband left his email logged in on their home computer, and she found messages between him and my wife, printed everything. She hired a private investigator after she became suspicious, and the investigator followed them for weeks, documenting everything. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just one affair. It was two. The investigator caught her with another guy too, some contractor who delivered to her showroom. The woman had already gone to my wife's showroom that morning and caused a massive scene. Security had to remove her and everything. My wife was in meetings with the owner all morning dealing with the fallout, which is why she didn't answer my text about being home early. While this woman is still in my living room, showing me more evidence, my wife's car pulls up. She sees the other car and her eyes get wide and her mouth opens. She knew exactly whose car it was. Didn't even make it to the front door before this woman went after her in our driveway. The whole neighborhood saw everything. Two women screaming at each other while I'm standing there holding this folder full of proof that my entire marriage was a lie. My wife tried to talk after the woman left, but all she could say was, "It's not that serious," which was the stupidest thing she could have said, considering I was holding photos of her kissing another man. It's not that serious. Not that serious? Are you kidding? I stood there like an idiot while she tried to come inside, but I blocked the doorway. The other woman had peeled out of our driveway, probably going home to destroy her husband's life too. My wife's makeup was smeared, and her hair was a mess from the screaming match. She kept trying to push past me, saying we needed to talk inside, away from the neighbors who were definitely watching from their windows. I told her to get the fuck away from my house, because I bought it before we got married and never put her name on it, thank God. She started crying, real tears this time, not the fake ones she used when she wanted something. Said she could explain everything if I just gave her 5 minutes. 5 minutes to explain two affairs? The contractor I could almost understand. Young guy, probably charming, whatever. But this other man had 3 kids and a wife who just destroyed my front lawn with her tires. My wife stood there saying it started innocent. They were just friends working on a project together. Classic cheater bullshit. Nobody accidentally falls on someone's penis repeatedly for months. I went back inside and started pulling her stuff out of the closet, throwing it on the front lawn. She followed me screaming that I was overreacting, that we could work through this with counseling. Counseling for what? So she could learn to hide her affairs better? The investigator's photos were spread across our table, and I picked one up, the one where she was kissing him in his car. Asked her if that looked innocent to her. She actually said the photo was misleading, taken out of context. You can't make this shit up. I called my brother while she was still yelling excuses and told him to come over immediately with his truck. He lived 20 minutes away and said he'd be right there. My wife tried grabbing her laptop from the office, but I told her she could get her work stuff tomorrow when I wasn't home. She went ballistic saying I had no right to keep her belongings. I reminded her that the house was mine and she needed to leave before I called the cops. That's when she switched tactics, started talking about how she gave me the best years of her life. 9 years of lying and cheating were her best years. She said I was never home, always working, never paid attention to her needs. I worked 50 hours a week to help pay for the lifestyle she wanted, the trips to Vegas, the expensive furniture she had to have, the luxury car she drove. But somehow I'm the bad guy here. My brother pulled up and didn't even ask questions, just started helping me load some of her stuff into her car. She threatened to take me for everything in the divorce. I laughed and told her good luck with that, since Ohio is still an at-fault state, but not by default, and I had proof of her affairs with 2 different men. She was shocked when she realized I knew about both of them. She thought the other wife only knew about her husband. No, that investigator was thorough as can be. The neighbors were getting a full show, standing in their driveways, pretending to check their mail at 3:30 on a Monday afternoon. My wife tried one more time, said she loved me and made mistakes, but we could fix this. I asked her which guy she was going to stop screwing first, the contractor or the married one. She couldn't even answer that. Just stood there with her mouth open like she was doing math in her head. My brother told her she needed to leave before things got worse. She grabbed her purse and got in her car, but not before screaming that I'd regret this. I told her the only thing I regretted was not seeing who she really was sooner. After she left, I called a locksmith to come change every lock on the house. Then I called a divorce lawyer, left a voicemail saying I needed an appointment ASAP. I sat on my couch, surrounded by those photos, and drank beer until I couldn't see straight. My phone blew up with texts from her mom, from her friends. Apparently, she was spinning the story that I threw her out for no reason. I didn't respond to any of them. Let her explain to everyone why she's homeless if she wants to lie about it. My brother stayed until the locksmith finished and asked if I wanted him to crash on the couch. I told him I needed to be alone. That first night was the worst, lying in bed that still smelled like her perfume, knowing she'd been with other men, then coming home to me. I didn't sleep at all. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those photos. Her kissing that man in his car while I was probably at home making dinner. Wednesday morning, my phone had 47 missed calls. Her mom, her sister from California suddenly giving a shit, and mutual friends who heard her version first. I turned my phone off and went to work, even though I felt like death. My crew knew something was wrong, but didn't ask questions. Just let me operate the excavator in peace while I tore into the earth like it had personally betrayed me. Around lunch, one of my guys mentioned some woman had come by the job site looking for me, said she was crying and making a scene until the general contractor threatened to call the cops. Of course, she'd show up at my work after I changed the locks. That afternoon, I met with the divorce lawyer and brought all the photos and evidence. He looked through everything and said this was the clearest case of adultery he'd seen in a long time. Said she'd get nothing from me except maybe some personal property and whatever was in her own accounts. The house was mine before marriage. My business was mine before marriage, and she destroyed the marriage with her infidelity. Ohio's at-fault divorce laws would actually protect me for once. He said he'd have the papers drafted within a week and filed with the court. Then she'd be served probably 2 to 3 weeks after that. The waiting was going to kill me. When I got home, there were flowers on my doorstep with a note begging me to talk to her. I threw them in the trash without reading the whole thing. On Wednesday evening, she showed up at my work again. Security footage showed her arguing with my foreman at 7 a.m. before I even got there. He told her to leave or he'd call the cops. She left, but not before keying my work truck in the parking lot. Got it all on camera too, which my lawyer said was perfect for our case. She was digging her own grave deeper. Thursday, the other betrayed spouse called me. Her name was Jennifer, and she was leaving her husband too. She wanted to compare notes and made sure our lawyers had everything. We met at a popular diner and she looked rough. Probably hadn't slept since Monday either. She told me her husband confessed to everything after she confronted him. 6 months with my wife, meeting up during lunch breaks after work, those supposed inventory Saturdays. The contractor was new, maybe 2 months old, but he was younger, and my wife apparently couldn't resist. Jennifer's husband claimed my wife pursued him, saying she complained about me constantly, that I was boring, predictable, more interested in my business than her. Jennifer asked if I wanted to know the details, and I said no. What would that accomplish except make me feel worse? We exchanged lawyer information, and she said something that stuck with me. At least we found out before we wasted more years on them. Friday, my wife tried a new approach, showing up with her dad. He's a big guy, works in construction, and thought he could intimidate me. He stood on my porch, talking about how marriages have rough patches and real men work through them. I asked him if he knew his daughter was having affairs with 2 different men. His face changed completely. He turned to her and asked if it was true. She couldn't even look at him, just stared at the ground. He walked back to his truck without another word and drove off, left her standing there. She started sobbing, saying I turned everyone against her. I told her the truth turned everyone against her. She begged to come inside, said she had nowhere to go. Her parents wouldn't talk to her. Her sister hung up on her. The married man went back to his wife begging forgiveness, and the contractor blocked her number. Not my problem anymore. I went inside and locked the door while she stood on my porch crying. Eventually, she left. The weekend, I started boxing up anything she'd left behind. Photos of us, jewelry I'd bought her, the stupid decorative pillow she had to have. All of it was going to the garage until she sent someone to pick it up. I found our wedding album and almost threw it away, but decided to keep it. Evidence of the biggest mistake of my life, but also proof that I'd survived it. My lawyer called on Monday stating that the papers were ready to be filed, said it would still be another 2 to 3 weeks before she got served, but at least things were moving. I wanted this over with. That same Monday afternoon, my wife showed up at the house with a cop, said she needed to retrieve personal belongings and had a right to get her things. The cop looked bored as hell, probably dealt with this shit daily. I let her in but followed her around like a hawk while she grabbed clothes and toiletries. She tried taking the flat screen TV from the bedroom, claiming she bought it. I pulled up the credit card statement on my phone, showing I paid for it 3 years ago. The cop told her to only take what was clearly hers. She tried to cry to him about being thrown out, but he just said this was a civil matter, and he was only there to keep the peace. When she went to grab some expensive art pieces from the living room, I showed receipts proving they were purchased before our marriage. She was getting desperate, grabbing random shit just to be spiteful. The cop finally told her she had 15 more minutes, then they were leaving. She used that time to whisper that she was pregnant. I laughed out loud, told her congratulations, hoped she figured out which guy was the father. Her face went red, and she admitted she wasn't really pregnant, just thought maybe it would change things. The cop heard that and shook his head, told her lying about pregnancy during a divorce could hurt her case. She left with 2 suitcases and garbage bags full of clothes. Tuesday, Jennifer called again, said her husband's lawyer was trying to claim alienation of affection against my wife, basically saying she seduced him and ruined their marriage. Jennifer was furious, but her lawyer said it might actually help both our cases. Made my wife look like a predator going after married men. We met for coffee again, and she showed me text messages her husband had saved. My wife was sending him nudes while I was at work, pictures in lingerie I'd never seen, doing things we hadn't done in years. Jennifer apologized for showing me, but said I needed to know who I was really married to. I didn't recognize the woman in those messages. She was aggressive, dirty, nothing like the person who barely touched me for months. Wednesday, my wife's mom called, different tone this time, said her daughter had told her the whole truth, and she was disgusted, wanted to apologize for raising such a disappointment. I told her it wasn't her fault, but she insisted their family didn't behave this way. She mentioned my wife was staying with a cousin across town, sleeping on a pull-out couch. Good. Let her see how the other half lives. The mom also warned me that my wife was talking about trying to claim alimony, said she'd been researching online and thought she had a case since she supported my career growth. What career growth? I had my business before I met her. If anything, she held me back with her expensive tastes and constant need for attention. Thursday, I got a call from her showroom. Her boss wanted to know if I knew why she hadn't shown up for 3 days. I told him she no longer lived here and I wasn't her keeper. He said if I heard from her to tell her she was fired if she didn't show up Friday. I didn't pass along the message. Friday came and went. Guess she lost her job too. The contractor she was screwing called me that afternoon, 28 years old, nervous as hell, trying to apologize. Said he didn't know she was married at first. She never wore her ring at the showroom. By the time he found out, he was already in too deep. I asked him what he wanted from me. Absolution? He said he just wanted me to know she pursued him hard, wouldn't take no for an answer. Said she told him our marriage was already over, that we were separated. I told him I didn't give a fuck about his guilty conscience and to never contact me again. On Saturday, I started preparing to sell the house. Too many memories, needed a fresh start. Called a realtor who said the market was hot, could probably get asking price within a month. While cleaning out the garage, I came across a box of her college journals. Curiosity got the better of me. Page after page about the different guys she was dating, sometimes 2 or 3 at a time. Apparently, this wasn't new behavior, just new to me. 3 weeks later, she finally got served with divorce papers at her cousin's apartment, in front of the whole family having Sunday dinner. Her cousin called me later laughing, said my wife went absolutely nuclear, threw plates, screamed about unfairness, blamed everyone but herself. They kicked her out that night. The divorce took 4 months to finalize. She tried everything to delay it, claimed she needed alimony, wanted half the house value, even said I was abusive. Judge wasn't buying any of it. The evidence was overwhelming, and Ohio's at-fault divorce laws actually mean something. She got her personal belongings, her car which was in her name, and about $3,000 from a joint account we'd forgotten about. That's it. No alimony, no house, no part of my business. Jennifer's divorce went similar. We stayed in touch, grabbed coffee every few weeks to compare war stories. Nothing romantic, just two people who understood what the other went through. About 6 months after the divorce, I ran into my ex-wife at a gas station. She looked rough, living in a studio apartment, working retail, driving the same car, but it was falling apart. She tried to talk to me, but I just paid for my gas and left. No anger anymore, just indifference. Later heard through the grapevine that the contractor had completely ghosted her. The married man stayed with Jennifer for about 2 months before she caught him texting another woman. Some people never learn. My ex tried reaching out on what would have been our 10th anniversary. Long message about making mistakes and wanting to try again. I didn't respond. I sold the house, bought some land outside the city, built a smaller place exactly how I wanted it. My business expanded, bought 2 more crews and equipment. Funny how much money you have when you're not funding someone else's lifestyle. Jennifer and I started dating about a year after our divorces. Weird how it happened. We just realized we'd rebuilt our lives in similar ways. Both focused on our careers. Both learned to spot red flags. Both knew what we wouldn't tolerate. We took it slow. Neither of us was in a rush. My ex-wife found out and sent Jennifer a crazy message saying she was stealing her life. We had a good laugh about that. You can't steal something someone threw away. 2 years later, Jennifer and I got married. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. No elaborate reception, no expensive honeymoon, just 2 people who knew what actually mattered. Her ex-husband is on his 3rd marriage. My ex-wife is still single, last I heard, still blaming everyone else for her choices. The funny thing about cheaters is they always think they're smarter than everyone else. They think they found some secret to happiness by lying and sneaking around. But really, they're just breaking things that can't be fixed. I found that box of evidence photos while packing up the old house, threw them in the fire pit and watched them burn. Didn't need them anymore. The past was done, and I had better things to focus on. Sometimes Jennifer and I joke about sending our exes thank you cards. If they hadn't been such terrible people, we never would have found each other, but we don't. They're not worth the postage. Looking back, the signs were always there. I just chose not to see them because I loved who I thought she was, not who she actually was. That Tuesday when the other woman knocked on my door was the worst day of my life. It was also the beginning of the best thing that ever happened to me. Funny how that works. To anyone going through this shit right now, just remember something. It gets better. Not immediately, not easily, but it does get better. Their choices aren't about you. Cheaters cheat because that's who they are. You could be perfect and they'd still destroy everything. So don't blame yourself. Just lawyer up, protect your assets, and move forward. The best revenge isn't some elaborate scheme. It's living well while they deal with the consequences of their choices. Trust me on that. Well, all I have to say, it sounded like OP wasn't hearing any of his ex-wife's excuses. I have to say, he stood his ground. Until next time.